Hello again, you awesome YouTube viewers and content creators alike. Ashley the Catalyst here. That's me. If I look tired, it's because I am. A bitch definitely tired. So anyway, moving on. I look rough. I know it. We'll just call it like we see it, right? That's what I do. So typically I don't like being redundant, but after watching my second posting video, technically my third, because my first post was of my dog eating pudding because she's so cute. But it was about the youth program that I came up with and created for middle school and high school students. And it was for filmed right after, like one after the other, my hi YouTube, it's me, Ashley, my first introduction video. And I was like crawling out of my skin with anxiety. I don't think I've stammered so much in my entire life. I don't mince my words. I speak very clearly. I'm a very effective communicator. I'm a gifted linguistic. That's what I do. In any event, because I was so nervous, there were a few things that I did accidentally leave out. I have a list now. Don't worry, you probably can't read it either because my handwriting sucks. Thank you, arthritis. The thing is, I just wanted to share these things, so I'm doing a reshoot of that video because my next few topics are going to be a doozy. So before I get messy, let me just do what is like very important to me and means a lot to me, and it could be very useful for, I don't know, all of our kids. And it's, again, the program costs nothing except to print out the questionnaire, which could be on one page in small font. But I just wanted to pretty much reiterate what I did say on that video. I'm going to leave it up as embarrassing. Actually, I don't get embarrassed. As poorly shot and stammering written as it is, which I'm not telling anybody with a speech impediment. I just typically do not have one. So it was funny to me because even my first time speaking, like in front of class, I don't think I've ever stuttered like that. But I don't want to make fun or be dismissive of anybody's speech impediment because they're not funny. They suck. I have generalized anxiety disorder and panic disorder. So I know what it's like to have something that causes like overwhelming and profound disabling anxiety, which I know when you have a stammer or a stutter and you can notice that it's being noticed, I guess would be a good way to put it. It gives you anxiety, which causes it to get substantially worse. So in any event, we're going to move on. I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to offend anybody. I'll get there, but I don't want to offend anybody who doesn't deserve to be offended. So again, I would love to just shout out my inspiration that really made me think, what can I do to help people? I'm broke AF, broke. So I can't be like a philanthropist. I'm going to say it right. I don't think I'll ever be able to pronounce that word correctly. So like I can't just go give money. So what can I do to make a difference? I've been asking myself this question for my whole like 34 years, pretty much, as long as I can remember. So I stated in the video that I tried to be a criminal justice major as my first major of college, or my first semester of college, actually my first two. And I realized really quick, can't do it because, well, same reason I couldn't be a social worker or work anywhere that requires direct head-on interaction with children that are being abused or neglected, what have you. And it's not necessarily the fact that I can't handle it, because I can. I'm extremely desensitized. I compartmentalize probably better than every serial killer on the planet. I'm very detached, but that's all because I'm objective, and my objectivity comes from exposing myself to the worst of the worst. It was a coping mechanism for me. I have a rotten mother, and I'll just leave it at that. There's no drugs, there's no alcohol, there's no substance to speak of that you could say. It's not an excuse, but you can understand, because when people have a addiction problem of any kind, the substance runs their life, and it makes them do things they wouldn't ordinarily do if the substance was not involved in situations. Yeah, I didn't go through that. My mom just shouldn't have ever been a mom, so we'll leave it at that. But it took me until I was about 25, 26, and I was extremely self-destructive. And the way that I stopped being so self-destructive and started to, I don't know, cope with things would be, I guess the best way to put it is to understand people. And I understand people better than most people do. So, that being said, I would like to shout out Dr. Emma Kenny. She is a psychologist in the UK. She has a YouTube channel and Patreon as well. She's freaking amazing. I just adore her. She typically does a lot of true crime, but she expresses a lot that her career for like after getting out of college and everything for like the majority of her career was done in safeguarding for children and vulnerable adults and things, I'm sorry, I apologize, human beings that are reliant on other people because they can't always necessarily fend for themselves. And that really got me thinking. Now, another person who I saw an interview done with is a hacker or a former hacker. I don't want to mistitle, but his name is Ryan and he lives in Florida. And he was telling his life story and all this, and he was telling about pretty much how he had came across some things that were not, we'll say not appropriate for argument's sake to keep it simple, but it's a very good interview. I will find it in my history and post it in my description. But he basically came across some things that were not legal, and he tried to give it to the appropriate authorities. I'm pretty sure in that interview he even says that he actually tried to call the media and nobody went to touch it. I might be wrong about that. I'd have to fact check that one. So don't quote me on that one. But I know that he does state that he did try to give it to the authorities. And they pretty much were like, well, what do you want us to do about it? You obtained this illegally. And I'm going to do a whole, don't worry, I'm going to do a whole, probably more than one video on my, not necessarily my opinions, because my opinions don't matter. My opinions matter to me because they're for me. They're not for anybody else, nor other people's opinions for me, even though I care because I always want to understand everything. But the way it's supposed to be is your beliefs are your beliefs for you. That's, your religion or your spirituality of choice. That's how it's supposed to work. They're supposed to be for you. So what that guy over there is doing, that stranger you're never going to meet, the millions of billions of strangers you're never going to meet, as long as they're not negatively impacting you, what their beliefs are and their day-to-day shouldn't matter either as opinions, because everybody has opinions. Whether they're correct or not doesn't matter. That's why I don't like to say opinions. I try not to give mine because I don't want to sway anybody's feelings one way or the other, because I don't care what anybody chooses. I just want people to understand why they choose what they choose and that they're doing it for themselves. Anyways, sorry, I digress a lot. If you haven't noticed, you will. In any event, Ryan started to do this kind of like a To Catch a Predator with Chris Hansen, where, I mean, he couldn't get the proper authorities to take care of it, so he legally found a loophole way to, like, do what he felt was, the right thing to do. I feel it's the right thing to do. I think it's very admirable. I've just known since I was in high school, or I'm sorry, it's in college, that's why I stopped being a criminal justice major, that quote that was by that Frenchman where he says, those who fight monsters should be careful not to become monsters. If you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss will stare back at you. Okay, well, I'm a black hole, so the abyss concept, I already got that one. And the thing is that people seem to forget pretty often. At least I feel like it. I could be wrong. I'm not always right. Nobody can be right all the time. And I don't want to be right all the time. I like to be wrong because that's how you learn new things. Again, I digress. But everybody has good and bad in them. Everybody is right or wrong at some point. I mean, people get lost in, they may be doing the right thing for the right reason for other people, for themselves, for whoever. But when you're trying to force somebody to agree with you, you lose what you were doing. So it doesn't matter what you were doing or what you're doing it for. So basically what I'm trying to get at is that I've always known it was only going to take one child because I was that child that needed to be saved that nobody saved. So, it's going to take one eye contact from one child, and I'm going to be in jail for the rest of my life. So that's why I didn't proceed forward with criminal justice or social work or anything like that. I'd be great at it because nothing surprises me. Absolutely nothing. And I mean that. That's not being dramatic. The thing is, though, I want to be efficient to help as many people as possible. If you help one child, that's all that matters. But why stop at one if you can help all? Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sick and fucking tired of hearing that statement. Fell through the cracks, fell through the cracks, fell through the cracks. Yeah, I'm not about that shit. Which got me thinking when I contacted Ryan on social media just to express my admiration. I did tell him that I hope he finds, which unsolicited advice, totally out of line, not my place, but it's to my understanding that when you do things like that, when you are in the thick of it, in the mud, in the trenches with him, with the worst of it, it's probably going to wear on you at some point if it doesn't right out the gate. I mean, I don't think there's anybody on the planet, no matter how detached or desensitized, whether they have kids or they don't, whether they're man or woman, or, I don't think there's nobody that could work with being forced to face firsthand the constant abuse or neglect of children and that not affect them negatively at some point. So for his sanity, I said, I would really, if I ever come up with something to do on my own, I would love you to be a part of it. And if I don't, I hope you find something to kind of make up for fighting to help you fight the good fight, so without sacrificing yourself to do so. Because if you sacrifice yourself to fight the good fight, then very quickly you're not going to be around to fight it anymore, I feel like. And that's not him. That's how I feel about myself, at least. So moving on. I digress very much. So one thing that I did forget to mention, back in March, I was going to Walmart, and Carl, he is the cart guy at Walmart, and I absolutely adore Carl. He's good people, great man, hard worker, busts his ass, just good folks. Always talk to Carl. Always try to help him with the carts. Because, side note, I digress again. Not many things will make me turn into a savage that has no home training in public. Okay, that's a lie. Because I don't really care. If I want to dance, I dance. If I want to sing, I sing. If I want to act like a fool, I do. Because I can. And I will. The end. But when I say savage, and I mean in the terms of to where I would be a menace. Never mind, I'm always a menace. Okay, moving on. There's one thing that really bothers me, and that's probably why me and Carl first became cool in the first place, is because I cannot stand when people put empty carts in empty parking spots. Especially not nowadays. Because you don't even got to touch a cart. You can get your shit delivered. Or you can back your car right up and pop your trunk, and they put it in there for you. You don't got to touch a cart. So if you can't put the cart back in the car return, don't touch the damn carts. It literally provokes me. And I respond the same way every single time. You can look on my Instagram and my Facebook. I've posted it. Adam Sandler and Big Daddy, when Julian had an accident and went to bed and he put the newspaper down, he kept crinkling and crinkling and crinkling. And he's like, all right. I do something like that. Except mine is what the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, I always do it. I don't know how I haven't been in a fight for it yet. It's probably because they think I'm a Looney Tune. And I am. I'm a lot of things. Everybody is. But I had witnessed an exchange between Carl was doing his job because he's a hard worker, as he does every single day of his life. I'm sorry he lives there. But there was these teenagers that walked by, two boys. They probably were somewhere between 13 and 15. And I didn't hear the words, but I saw the exchange right in front of me. And I'm like, oh man, kids. Look, I was an asshole teenager. I was an asshole adult. I mean, I'm 34. I am still an asshole. I'm going to die an asshole. So, but we all know that kids, especially when there's more than one of them, once they hit them teenagers and they have their friend with them or their group of friends, they become much more assholistic the more of them, because they feed off each other, mob mentality type situation. And so when I got out of my car, I said I had a car like I always do, and took some carts up that I could push on my own. Actually, I asked him if I could take the carts. He told me no, because as I was walking in, I peeped the Girl Scout cookie table to the side, and I also heard somebody on the phone, and it sounded aggressive. So when I turned my head, it was the two teenage boys, and I knew exactly what they were doing. And I may not stand up for myself very often. I'm more of a, if it don't apply, let it fly, or I don't give a shit, because I don't, because nobody's ever going to say anything worse to me or do anything worse than my family already has. So, you know, I like to laugh. People get aggressive with me, and I make fun of them. That's how that would work if that happens. But what I won't do is ignore something intentionally. I can't even walk past something on the ground. I have to pick it up. My friend tells me I have either like some sort of compulsion or unrelenting in like work ethic or integrity. I'm like, tomato, tomato. Don't matter what you call it. It's not going to change that I can't leave the shit on the floor. I also can't disregard or ignore or do that thing that people like to do where I ain't see nothing. I ain't know nothing. Yeah, that's not me. I'm getting involved because I don't sit and stew. I don't regret. I don't do that kind of shit. I react. I react in a way that I do what's right, because I've always been like that. It's just me. It's part of my like foundation, I guess you'll call it. It's not something I picked or elect to be or choose to do. It's my reaction. There's no thought process in it. So I immediately turned around and I said to them kids, I said, oh, come on, guys. Leave that man out there alone. He works hard. Like, he busts his ass. I was like, you guys want to fuck with somebody, fuck with me. That's literally what I said to them. Now, that could have went way wrong. We all know that. I mean, it has before, because it won't be the first time and it won't be the last time. If I witness something, I'm doing something about it. That's just who I am. I posted a Facebook status the other day. If I walk past your car and you're not in it and it's not running and there's something living and breathing in there, whether it be a child or an animal, I don't give a shit. I will call 911, and as I'm doing so, I will be busting out your window. If you don't like me or don't want me to do that, then probably don't leave nothing that lives and breathes in your vehicle in the 1,000-degree heat that keeps giving me heat rash breakouts every single day if I go outside to take my dog out for 1 second. Don't leave it in the car, and you want to worry about me busting out your shit, because I'll go to jail for it. I don't care. We'll see what jury convicts me on that. Maybe in Florida, but I'm not in Florida. So anyways, I said, I told them straight up, I'm like, if you want to fuck with somebody, fuck with me. I'll take it. Because I will take a hit for anybody. I'm just altruistic by nature like that. I will take an ass whooping on behalf of a stranger. I won't let nobody get jumped. You know, that I've been like that, like even in younger elementary, middle school, whatever. So me and these kids are having this exchange. And at first they try to broach it like, because they were all hyped, talking about disrespect, respect. And I'm like, guys, look. I'm like, I swear to you, I'm not trying to be like a condescending asshole when I say this, but I'm like, he's lived long enough to know what respect actually means. It entails. So let's think about something else to say about why you're trying to get your boys on the horn and get them up here, your little, your goon squad. Like, let's think of something else. Because if you want to say something about respect, you haven't lived long enough to gain the respect. I mean, to have the respect. I'm respecting you right now, and you're giving me respect back. But, like, it don't always work out like that. You know what I mean? So, like, let's try another avenue, basically. I was like, is that guy out there? I'm pretty sure that he is a Desert Store veteran. So, there's that. So they switched it up real quick, and they proceeded to say, well, did you hear what he said to us? He can't be talking to kids like that, blah, blah, blah. I was like, hun, he's a hard-working man, and y'all kids fuck with him all the time. I don't care what he says to you. Leave that man alone. He works hard. Like, picture him like your grandfather. Like, would you want somebody trying to fuck with your grandfather? Because he busts his ass every day, because he does. And I was like, look, I'm not no, like, I don't see color, naive, white fragility Karen. And he was like, or no, I said, I'm sorry. I said, I did say not a Karen, but because then he proceeded to respond with, I don't see color. So I quick thought to myself, because I'm a fast processor, you just try to pull an ageism card, but now you're pulling a not a race card. No, it's not a buffet. You're either not going to use demographics to or not to your advantage. Like, you can't have it both ways. But I was trying to, so I explained to him, I said, I've always seen color. It's just never mattered to me because I'm never going to take in consideration what somebody cannot pick about themselves for anything. Nobody should get a job interview over somebody else because of what they came out of the vagina into the world from. Like the way they, your skin pigmentation, your sexual orientation, or your born gender. These are 3 things you cannot pick. They are just wired in the womb. You're just made that way. You don't get to pick it. Like Jeff Bezos runs the world, and even he didn't get to pick his. You don't get to pick those things any more than you get to pick the vagina box you come out of. Because trust me, I never would have picked to come out of a rotten one if you got to pick. So I know that the white fragility book would say that makes me white fragility, but that's just the truth, what it is. I look at somebody, I see very clearly what they look like. But what they look like doesn't matter to me because I care about your character. I'm not going to come at your looks. I'm going to come at your character. If you're a shit human being, either don't be a shit human being or just don't be a shit human being in front of me. Because if I see it, if I notice it, I'm going to say something about it. Because I'm not I'm not going to let it slide. So when I realized that it wasn't resonating with them, when I made the reference, like, picture him as, your grandfather, like a hard-working man in your family that you look up to. When that didn't land with them, it clicked to me that they're probably like me. They maybe don't have a strong, like, father figure. I have mommy and daddy issues myself, so that has nothing to do with the way they looked. It's something, when you are very self-aware and you know things about yourself and you have accepted it, acknowledged it, processed it, coped with it, you're never going to get over it. But these are things that you can pick up quickly on in other people when you can identify it in yourself. It's just like I don't know really how to explain it. I guess you'd have to, like, be self-aware and experience it, I guess, maybe. I don't know what else to say. But I can tell that based on the fact they were so, because I said it probably a couple times, at least 3 times at that point. Picture him like your grandfather, because I was trying to resonate with them, because they were giving me the chance to talk to them. So I was respecting them, and I was trying to tell them why what they're doing right now ain't good for nobody. But when that didn't land right, it occurred to me that, again, they probably both, or at least one of them, didn't have a strong male role model. My mom got pregnant on purpose at 15 to trap my dad. She had me at 16. I've never met my dad. And I got left with the devil. There's my coming out party story in a nutshell. So I then said to them, I said, look, listen. I was like, Carl's a hardworking man. He's a good man. Once again, for the millionth time. I'm like, but at the end of the day, I'm still the future. And I'm in my 30s. You guys are more future than anybody. I give a shit about you guys and your future and you guys being a part of this future, because the way the society's going right now, we got to change this shit real quick. Otherwise, y'all better just get me the fuck out of Dodge. I want to go to Alcatraz Island because I don't got a passport. Otherwise, I'd get all the way out. Like Tom Hanks, Castaway style. But I was like, you can't change somebody. It don't work like that. So you can't fight fire with fire. Like it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks or believes or whatever to do. As long as they're not negatively impacting you, let them live their life. He gets fucked with all the time. Again, like you're like probably by all your friends that are in the neighborhood. Y'all just leave that man alone. Stop stealing the cards. Stop being dickheads. You know what I mean? But I said to them, I'm like, look, I'm a stranger. I don't matter. You're probably never going to see me again. So in the grand scheme of things, your guys' lives mattering to me doesn't mean shit if your guys' lives don't matter to y'all. That was all it took. He hung up the phone. He's like, never mind, bro. Hung up the phone. You right. I don't need to be told I'm right. I don't give a shit who thinks I'm right. Just like I have some postings up of me rapping because I can rap. But I'm not a rapper. I just like words. I love words. And I love a good punchline. And let's be honest, shit is just funnier when it rhymes. The end. Like, I'm not trying to be a rapper. I just want to resonate with some kids. If they look at me and they say, hey, the girl can flow, well, they'll probably give me a chance to be heard, you know? Moving on. But that connection with them kids, just, it was so simple. It was so easy. It was because I'm a grown ass adult. They're kids, but you don't have to treat it doesn't have to be. It's so easy to say to the kids, "You're too young to understand," or "When you grow up, it'll be different," or "That first love is just lust. It's not even. You don't know what love it." Like it's such a cop out to say that kind of condescending shit to kids, and people wonder why kids don't want to listen. Who the fuck wants to listen to that? Nobody wanted to hear that at their age. People forget that kind of shit though, real quick. So it just really bothers me. Like, instead of being condescending and pulling ageism and just whatever, trying to take an easy way out, I don't do easy. I do what's right every single time, no matter what that means. And I also choose education over ignorance every single day of my life. If I'm awake and I'm breathing, that's what I'm picking. But why don't we try to say to the kids something like, hey guys, guess what? Do you know why people say that you're too young to understand, or something, whatever the, sentiment is? It's because physiologically, you guys get what I'm trying to say. Why is it's a medical or scientific fact, whatever you want to consider it, that until your prefrontal cortex is fully developed, which doesn't happen until your 20s, which that's your ability to control just your response, your anger, the way you process things and handle things, your hair trigger reaction, your over dramatization. Damn, I'm not stuttering, but like I have some I gotta get on my pronunciation something. Sorry, you guys get where I'm going. Just explain to them, because it's true. It is true. I was a fucking shit show, dumpster fire savage. I'm still kind of part of that, but I'm getting better. But it was until I was like 24, 26 in that area when I stopped being such a not give a shit savage. I mean, granted, it had a lot to do with not understanding mental health, or how could I have ever deserved to, because, they always say that you're only given a life that you're strong enough to live. And I'm like, ugh, count me out. I don't know what I did in my past life. I must have been Ted Bundy in my past life or something like that, because I mean, I'm a very overly accountable person. I self-blame. I internalize like almost everything because it's easier for me that way, because that means I have something I can change or control in my power. That's why I just do that, because if it's somebody else that I'm pointing the finger at, guess what? That's a variable I can't do shit about. So I self-blame. And I also set, because of my lovely mommy, I also set for a long time unrealistic expectations of myself, so I would fail, so I could beat myself up. Like, nobody will ever tear me down faster or harder or worse than I've teared myself down my whole life. I work on it every day. I don't do it anymore. I give myself credit. I'm starting to cut myself slack here and there. Progress is progress. We're all a work in progress. That is life. If you're not evolving, if you're not changing, if you're not learning, you're not growing, then you're dying, basically. Or you're just miserable and you're going to die alone. So there's that. But I guess what I'm trying to get at, it's so easy to just explain things, but people don't take the time to explain them. And I look at teenagers and I think to myself, what did I want most at that age? I wanted to be treated like I was an adult, and I wanted somebody to give a shit. So I just, get it how you get, or you give it, blah, blah, blah. You get it how you give it. And that's what I do. I treat people how I want to be treated. Like, it's that simple. It's always applicable. I don't think about it. I just do. So the funny thing is, about a week later, I think it was, I was on my Google feed, and I came across a video news article about a middle schooler who punched his teacher in the face because she tried to confiscate his Nintendo DS, I think it was. I didn't even watch the video. I didn't need to. I was a lot of things. I was not surprised, and that's unfortunate. There were things that did surprise me, but the way that panned out did not. You can't do shit by force, first of all. Second of all, if you take in consideration all these like Dateline storyline plots and things like that, where you have these family annihilators that happen to be kids, like boys typically, which I mean, girls are not. I'm not being I'm not sorry, I'm not being sexist. That's just what I've seen. But I haven't seen everything. I can't know everything. Again, I'm a know-it-all, but I'm not a know-it-all. I want to know it all, but I'll never know it all. But that's not a deterrent. It will never stop me from trying to know it all, even though it's not achievable. I'm still going to try till I die. Moving on. I digress a lot if you didn't notice. But they're killing their parents because they're doing this shit like, I don't know, failing out of school, not getting a job, lying about having a job, lying about being in school, this kind of weird shit. And so they just kill their whole fucking family for no reason. I'm like, oh, you must have just been stuck on your computer doing some GTA shit, huh? This is IRL. This is not GTA. This is not a video game. But because of that constant exposure to the alternate reality of a cartoon on a video game, you become desensitized and it becomes more realistic. Like, look at everybody that wants to play like FPS games. I'm not a gamer. Listen, it's just not my thing. Here's why it's not my thing. I like to learn. I don't like to do, the last time I played a video game was, I don't know, I think it was like 16, 17. It was GTA 2 San Andreas. And I got so mad that I may or may not have kicked my PlayStation 2 through the wall with my tin boot on. Because I forgot to put my memory card in. And then I had to work and replace that $200 PS2 on my own so I could watch movies again because we didn't have cable. So you live and you learn. But I never put another damn game, disc in the PlayStation ever again. Only DVDs from there on out. I just don't. I feel like what I feel like doesn't matter. We're going to move on. So I'm trying to ruin my handwriting. I'm very sorry. I've already touched on an intro to me, why I am the way I am. I mean, I don't know if you guys got time for that. I'm going to do it in a 3-parter though, so keep on the lookout for it. So here's my big thing. I actually did touch base on this in my first one, but I'm going to reiterate it so I can have everything all in one video. So I'm a proactive bitch. Okay, I'm not one of them people who like to wait for problems to occur, because when you focus on a problem will run you as long as that's what you're focusing on. I'm a results-driven, resolution, results, whatever you want to call it, driven type of person, but I'm a proactive person before anything. I like to anticipate things and avoid what I can. That way I don't have to deal with the problems, that are in my control to avoid. And I find it very mind-fucking that there's not more proactive approaches to things just in life in general. Like, why do we have to wait for there to be victims? Why do we have to wait for there to be this or that, like tragedies, casualties? Why can't we approach it proactively and maybe avoid some of these things? I mean, who knows? Maybe we could like avoid shit altogether. Pipe dream right now, but maybe not a couple years down the line if we try to do it proactive, just starting out, just try something different. That is how I ultimately, this program came about. These things, particularly to share, Dr. Emma Coney, Ryan, the hacker, and then just my own life experience, and then seeing how bad it really is every day, all the time. It's why I don't watch the news. It's why I only just recently started dealing with politics, and it's only because I'm doing this stuff. And again, I choose education over ignorance every day, all my life, always will, till I die. But I don't like to talk about shit I don't know about. And the news and politics are depressing things. So I just never dealt with it. Just make my brain bleed out, though, because I've been doing a lot of due diligence and research. Don't worry, that video is coming. That's when I'm going to get messy. But anyway, again, I digress. Moving on. My big thing is I'm tired of the falling through the cracks things. I'm not going to blame the social workers or the police, or I'm not. Everybody is to blame when a child is killed by their guardian or parent. Okay? Anybody that comes in contact with that child is to blame. If you want to, I'm not about the blame game, because that's all you're doing is perpetuating negativity. I don't give a shit. If you want to blame me, as long as it's not sacrificing my integrity, my freedom, or my finances, I don't give a shit. Blame me. Because my mom was one of them kind of people. She couldn't move on, so she could point her finger at you. I'm like, all right, yeah, I did it. I wasn't even there, but sure, blame it on me. That's just, but I don't give a shit. You need somebody blame me. Go ahead. I get blamed for everything. If you ask my family, they'll probably tell you that, I don't know, I somehow had the time machine from Back to the Future. And even though I was born in 1988, I was probably here for like 1981 when the Nexus AIDS patient was infected. Well, fun fact, it wasn't actually the case, but it was the first American case. The original, I think it was it 81 in 1981? 31 in 1981? Something like that. But they'll probably tell you I started AIDS. I mean, if you ask them, I probably started cancer. Who the fuck knows? It sounds outlandish and it's quite hysterical. But let me tell you something. I have not been called or accused of anything otherwise. Like, I don't get a, hey, good job getting straight A's, or hey, good job not having kids you couldn't take care of. Actually, my grandfather does say that to me. He does tell me he's very proud of me for that I broke the cycle. And I always will break the cycle because I've been doing it since I was 17. And it's kind of a hard hitting that I just now realize that is pretty much my greatest achievement in life thus far. That's going to change, but moving on. I just don't like the sentiment of falling through the cracks. I really don't, because I can't stand a big problem with our justice system or government, with all these institutions, with specific individuals in particular. People don't just want to own shit. It's like, if you fucking did it, just own it. I don't care if you're sorry. Just own it. Realize what you did wrong. Don't be dismissive of other people's feelings. It's not about what you did. It's about what you did and what that caused, or how that made somebody else feel, or whatever. I mean, self-awareness, accountability, and don't be dismissive. Those are like my 3 things for life. Like that. If everybody tried to maybe, now my way, I'm not better than anybody else. I'm not smarter. I'm not wiser. I'm a flawed individual. I'm a sinner. I'm an asshole. I'm all these things. But what I will say is that when I was implementing these 3 things together, I quickly became less self-destructive and detrimental to my own self. And I also quickly became, I've always been social. I'm an extrovert by nature, but I'm an introvert by choice now. But I've always been able to talk to people, but understanding people is a lot different. And I understand everything because I want to understand everything. It's a choice that I make, and it's just who I am. So if it's something foreign to me, or unknown, or something I haven't experienced, I seek out to understand it. It doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. That doesn't matter. Nobody's going to agree on everything. Sports wouldn't be fun if everybody liked the same team. You know what I mean? Like, we're not all meant, it's not one size fits all for life. People don't need to agree with you. As long as they respect your position, that's all that matters. That's all that we need to be doing. And don't nobody want to do that. Just as much don't nobody want to take accountability and own their fuck ups. So at the end of the day, I just feel like, with as mortifying as the thought is for me at 34, I graduated high school in 2006. And as mortifying as the thought for me to think, oh my God, thank God there was no cell phones. Kids are like this. Let's not break up the fight. Let's record it. Oh, that girl's had her first drink as a teenager and didn't understand how alcohol works. And then bad things happen. That's typically how they start. That happened to me at 18. By 2 friends. I will tell that story in my 3-parter exposure. But recording, they just record everything. Who wants that? The thought of having like your most naive or young or irresponsible or like, I'm so glad mine are not on camera. But like, it makes everything that much worse, because like, if you got a receipt with some CCTV or some recordings or some footage, well, you ain't denying that footage. You deny eyewitness testimony is fucking ridiculous. It shouldn't even be allowed in the court as anything. Eyewitness testimony, no. First person account, yes. Eyewitness testimony, no. No. No, no, no. Because look how many cell doors have been shut for eyewitness testimony alone. That DNA has then opened said cell doors all these years later because the people were not guilty, but they were found guilty because of eyewitness testimony. So your brain plays tricks on you. Even if you're not directly involved in the trauma, if you're witnessing a traumatic anything, something that is impactful to you, even me, I'm very, 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 very knowledgeable when it comes to human nature, psychology, sociology, physiology, personality. I have the DSM-5 on my phone, for Christ's sakes. I mean, I love to understand people in any way that I can, always. So, but even I would not give an eyewitness testimony, because I have nothing but trauma in my, I mean, it's gloom and doom. I don't like being an energy vampire, but the truth of the matter is I've had a fucked up childhood. I did get diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder clinically, and panic disorder and PTSD until I was 18, but I had it my whole life. I used to smother myself to sleep as a kid because I had to share a bedroom with my mom, and she was a light sleeper, and I had asthma really bad. So my coughing and wheezing would wake her up, and I would have things thrown at me. So I would just smother myself to sleep. As an adult, now that I know that's what I did. As a child, I just remember I couldn't breathe and I was shoving my face in a pillow. And the next thing I know, I was waking up and it was morning on a regular basis. Thank God that I didn't mess up my brain for that one over and over again. But these are the kinds of things where I think to myself, how is it that somebody could tell me about something they witnessed me? Like my grandfather's wife, for instance. My mom's parents had been divorced since before I was born. My grandmother was remarried already. My grandfather got remarried to his wife when I was in first grade. And she had told me, one of her first encounters with me was that I spilled water, like H2O, on the counter, and I started hyperventilating. What the fuck kind of kid spills water near the sink? The counter where the sinks are, and hyperventilates. These, and she was like, Ashley, I'll never forget it because I said something to your grandfather because that's not normal. Now, I don't like the word normal because people who think they're normal, it's semantics. It's like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. You want to ask 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different answers. Nobody's normal. And if you think you're normal, well, I hate to tell you, you're the most abnormal and you're the bad kind of not normal. Okay. I know that I have bad in me. Everybody has bad in them. It's what you choose to be out and about with that matters. I'm the antithesis of everything that my nature nurture says that I should have been. And that's why I'm the catalyst now. And JK, not done yet. But I don't like the thoughts of waiting until these children are committing suicide or because of cyberbullying or, like I said, I mean, there's a litany of things I could sound off. There's abuse at home that, is unfounded. I mean, they try to, I love provable data. I love facts. I love that's my thing. However, statistics can only get you so far because if we look at the statistics for, say, child abuse, like the level, the reported cases for the pandemic, of course they went down. Because we're talking about emergency room visits, right? But think about it. You are locking kids up and they're not being exposed to school or mandatory reporters that could catch shit. You're locking them up with neglectors and abusers. And you really think that just because the ER visits went down, that in turn actually means that the actual cases of abuse and neglect went down? If you think that, I will not name call. I'm going to get real petty and real messy on my next video. But, well, not name call, not now, because this is positive and this is important to me. But what I will say is this: you should do some more research. And if you still feel that way, I don't even know what to tell you, honestly, because to me, even if I didn't know about just life, period, logically, it would not make sense to actually really truly believe that you're locking people up with abusers and nobody is seeing them otherwise. So nobody's all the chances of having reporting done are not happening. And you really, really think that the abuse is going to go down? Fuck out of here. Sorry. That's it. Moving on. So these are all the things that I wanted to talk about. Now, here's my program basically in a nutshell. It's very simple. Again, it really only costs to print out the questionnaire for students. Now, this is one thing that I did leave out in the first video, is that this is not a one-time thing. This is meant to be like a quarter. I think it would be best if it was like a quarterly check-in. So you do it like right at the beginning of the school year, and then somewhere between like Thanksgiving and Christmas break, and then like somewhere around spring break, because that's how you build trust, right? Again, it's very important to me that this not be done by, say, a faculty member at the school, because let's be honest, kids are not going to be open and honest and transparent, and this is not going to be as effective as it could be if it's somebody that's in a position of authority over them. It has to be somebody. It doesn't. I want nothing more than to be able to do it in my area, like for free on my own dime, as long as they print out the questionnaires. I'll be in there like swimwear. Just saying. Desperate to do it. Christian School District, Colonial, Brandywine, Red Clay, hit me up. Moving on. It doesn't have to be done by, it has to be just done by somebody who just gets everything. Granted, I do curse a lot, but I mean, I don't say anything worse than the kids are saying to each other, so let's be honest. But it has to be done by somebody who's not a faculty member, who's not a parent, who's not in a position of authority over these kids, because that's how they'll be more open-minded. Because when you're in a position of authority, it's automatically, when you're younger, obviously, two things typically happen. You want to please the authority figure, so you're not being like as open-minded or as like deep diving or deep digging. I'll come up with a better way to word that. But the other thing is, you're going to automatically rebel, because you're like, I don't want to deal with what this person is saying. I tune them out like Charlie Brown teacher every day. See what I mean? They're not my age. They can't possibly know. That's what happens when, I mean, let's be honest. We all know how that is. And if you don't know how it is, go look on the news somewhere, because I'm sure you'll see something. I just feel like this program could be a really good way. First of all, I love the idea of a mentoring program, and that's kind of how this came about. I started going on mentoring opportunities for my local area, because again, I'm broke. I can't just go give money away. If I had money, I would do it in a heartbeat, because I mean, I became homeless this year. This year alone, I mean, I had went days without food multiple times for months. And then on the other months, I was living off of oodles and noodles and peanut butter sandwiches. Talk about how my body hates me right now and not getting nutrients. But it was either eat what you could afford or don't eat at all. And when you don't go a couple days without food and you're willing to drink barbecue sauce or pancake syrup, like I did, because my blood sugar was so low, that my blood pressure in turn was so low that I couldn't stay conscious. Yeah, I didn't have a choice. I'm already humble with all the humility in the world. I didn't need to experience that shit. But let me tell you like this. You appreciate things a lot more and all that. I forget why I brought that up anyways. But, about having money. So trust me, if I ever make it big, YouTube famous, I'll be out there. I already got all these things that I have gone through. And I thought to myself, fuck, I wish I could do this. Storage, for instance. I would have loved to not allow my family to make me lose all my furniture, my bed, my appliances, my recliner, my dog's couch. I had to lose it all because I had nowhere to put it. I'm like, how do we not have some storage program, just like a 60-day storage program? How is that if somebody's becoming homeless? You know what I mean? How do we not have something like that? So trust me, I got all these ideas. I hope I get to do them. But moving on. So basically the emphasis of this is, it would be the children would fill out a questionnaire, which I will read off. They could do it. I mean, it could be same day. It doesn't have to be in the classroom, because what is most important to me is that the children understand that it's done anonymously. The only thing they will put on it that identifies anything is their grade. And that's so you can get a good, you could gauge what is of level of importance where the kids are at, because we all know what a 7th grader needs to talk about is not going to be the same thing as what a 12th grader needs to talk about. But it also goes in turn with a rural area school, where there's like 100 kids in the whole 4 years of high school. Like my graduating class, I think was like 200 or 300. So these kids are being exposed in different ways too. So you want to be able to be as effective as possible where the kids already are. And if they are on devices that have an internet connection, that means they are being possibly exposed to predators everywhere. And I am going to throw this one out there because it's kind of funny, but it's serious. It's truth. I was walking to my car at the visitors parking the other day, and I saw these 3 little girls outside, and they were real cute. There was like 2 of them were like 9 or 10. And there was a younger one, she's probably like 8 or 9. The younger one was doing dance moves, and 2 older girls had cell phone. So I immediately knew they were on TikTok. And I thought to myself, them little girls are so cute. And I'm like, I really hope somebody told them about stranger danger on a TikTok. So what did I do? I had the splendid idea. I've never been on TikTok, by the way, because I really don't give a shit about social media for the most part. I don't have a Snapchat. I don't even have social media apps. I have a third-party app because I'm not giving them assholes all these extra permissions they don't need to know or have access to. Moving on. So I tried to create a TikTok so I could do some funny stranger danger videos, for the kids. So like somebody's telling them, hey, don't talk to these people. I would come up with something funny and age appropriate, most importantly. But I go to create the damn TikTok. They email me the email code, that you have to put in to verify that it's your email address. Then I go to log in. These assholes banned my email address. I ain't never been on the fucking TikTok before, other than creating the account. What'd I get banned for? You spies? Did you read my mind? Were you able to tell that I was about to shut shit down? Like, you let predators on there. Like, predators. Like, predators. Predators. I want to help the kids protect themselves and be aware of the predators in age-appropriate fashion by doing some funny TikTok videos. I'm not allowed to have an account? Well, fuck you, TikTok. Side note. Moving on. I got the receipt for that one, trust me, because I actually contacted them and assholes never contacted me back. I didn't want to TikTok anyways. I like YouTube better. Bam. Problem solved. So my big thing is, like I said, I like the idea of a mentorship, but I don't want any kids to be left out. Again, helping one child makes like all the difference in the world. I could die happy. One child being helped. Like one child not having to experience something that I experienced. Or at least stopping it so they're not as damaged, so they're not as broken, so that, I was an unwanted obligation. Like, that's not a feeling. That was what it was. I got passed around to whatever family member would take me because nobody wanted me. I was like the very unwanted accident child because my mom and my aunt are 7.5 years apart. So my aunt was already the accident. And then my mom at 15 gets pregnant, honey at 16. And me and my aunt are like 9 years apart. So I was the unwanted third daughter. Some shit like that. That's how I look at it. But I was an unwanted obligation. I don't know what it's like to turn around and have somebody standing in your corner. I don't even know what it's like to have somebody want you because they want you. Not out of obligation or requirement. Except for my dog, I've never experienced unconditional love before. So, stoic bitch Ashley, that is very unemotional, is about to cry at the thought of a child feeling that way, because no child should feel alone and unwanted, because it is the fucking worst feeling in the world, especially for a child to feel. So I don't want to leave anybody out. I like all inclusiveness. I want to help anybody and everyone that I can, and this could help every kid in some way. Just having an open dialogue. Things are only hard to talk about because nobody wants to fucking talk about them until it's a problem. Just like people don't want to get involved in shit until it happens to them. No, folks. Not no more. We're not doing it like that no more. We can't keep doing it like that. Where you're like, I didn't see nothing. I didn't know nothing. And the next thing you know, your nephew, brother, son, cousins, mother, sons, best friends, godsons, whomever, they get shot or some shit like that. And then you're like, please, anonymous tip, everyone, please. No, I mean, it can't work like that. It's got what's wrong for everybody is wrong for everybody. What's right for everybody is what's right for everybody. That may sound like some white privilege shit. I can assure you of this. White privilege exists. Facts. All day. This white person ain't never experienced that shit, though. I promise you that. I've been beat up by the cops. Badly. When I was cuffed face down in gravel. And then I got hit with assault in a second and resisting arrest. How the fuck could I resist arrest? I was face down, cuffed in gravel. And there was 3 of them. Cecil County Sheriffs. Which I will talk about in my autobiography. Because guess what? You can only be found liable. It's only slander if it's not true. That can be fact checked. So I'm going to get into that one. Trust me. But yeah, I mean, I've been pulled over. I was a Hooters waitress. I got pulled over in my Hooters uniform. And the cop jumped out like he was roid raging. And he was like, "Did you not see me?" I looked at him. I was like, "Officer, if I didn't see you, I would have passed you. Duh." Okay, I didn't say the duh part, but I did say the other part. Asshole turned around. I was only going 2 miles an hour. Like I think we were in a 65. I was literally in his blind spot going like 67, 68. The asshole bumped me up 10 extra and hit me with, I don't know if it was a inattentive drive or careless drive or some shit. I'm like, I'm not guilty of that. I didn't do that. See, like, I ain't never got a piss on anything. But then again, at the same time, I'm knowledgeable enough to know that if I did experience white privilege, because it wouldn't have been often, I may not have realized it. So, like, here's the thing. I just don't like, demographics mattering. So I know it sounds naive to say, like, we got to do shit differently. All lives matter, all that. I'm not taking away from nobody's pain, nobody's experience, nobody's background, nobody's opinions, nobody's feelings. I'm not doing none of that. What I am saying is that every single child matters to me. I may not be a mother, but I don't need to be a mother. Because there's all these children that didn't ask to be here that need somebody to look out for them. And there's these children that have fucking 2-parent homes, stable family life. And because of internet access on devices, they're on Twitch or TikTok or whatever the fuck they're on. And little do you know, you good parents, you love your kids, you think you have an open relationship, you think your parents or your kids come to you with anything and everything. That's great. Strive for that. I hope that's the case. I'm not trying to I know I sound sarcastic, but I think that that's amazing. I would give anything to have something like that, anything close to that. I would give anything just to have somebody give a shit. I'm the oldest of my dad's 5 children. It's the only one he's never met, and the only one he's never given a fuck about. So, like, again, and I got left with the devil. So, like, I'm not knocking. I'm not trying to be like a smart aleck, but your kid too, because your kid's on that social media, and predators are on the social media, and they're doing things like pretending to be a same age child, or either same sex or opposite. Sometimes they're, the girls going through insecurities who are trying to find somebody else who go through an insecurity when it's actually not a girl on the other side of the internet. It's a I don't want to attack nobody's character, but what I pictured in my head would be kind of funny, but I'm not going to say it because I don't want anybody to take that, not out of context per se, because it wouldn't be out of context, but we're going to focus on what's important, which is this. So that man over there on the other side of the internet that your child thinks is a same age child ends up coercing and manipulating them into sending inappropriate photographs of them. And it doesn't have to be like a boy that they have a crush on. It could be like, I'm getting made fun of because, my voice is changing and I'm getting boobs, or I'm going through puberty, like whatever. Do you look like this too? Do you experience this too? And the next thing you know, boo-boo, they got your nudes. And your child just manufactured child pornography on their own. And then they're so terrified to tell you because they don't want to disappoint you. They don't want you to be mad at them. No matter if they know you love them, it's not that point. When you're getting blackmailed as a child, teenager, it doesn't matter. I mean, think about somebody blackmailing you as an adult. It's a fucking stressful situation. And our prefrontal cortex is developed. So think about it for a child who is not prefrontal cortex fully developed. They don't, it's not that they're being dramatic. It is over dramatized, but not in a bad way or a way that they're doing it to, woe is me to be dramatic, the sky is falling type shit. It's because of their hormones and the fact their brain's not fully developed. It is that much more intense for them. And they're that much more afraid to devastate a good parent. And if they don't have a good parent, Well, they've already been being taken advantage of by other adults in their lives that are pieces of shit. So, like, it can happen to anybody. It happens to everybody. It happens in every town, under every roof. Nobody, nobody, there's no discrimination against predators and their prey. The end. So, what can we do? Do we wait until, again, these children commit suicide? These children are creating child pornography on their own of themselves, and then them pictures are out there forever. And when they feel like their life is over, yeah, it's going to be way worse than when I was in school and my boyfriend broke up with me. I don't send nobody new pictures. I'm 34 years old. I thought about creating an OnlyFans. No judgment. Not judging. I just don't want to do something because I have to. Because I can't. The thought of having to live with something that I maybe can't live with, that I did to survive, is not the way I want to go about it. If I want to create an OnlyFans, I will do so because I want to. I haven't yet, though. Nobody has new pictures of me. But, like, once they're out there, you can't get them shits back. So, hello. It's not just cyberbullying. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to have an open dialogue about things. And I came up with the questionnaire the way I worded it for a reason. It's because the best way to do age appropriate without being ageist or thinking kids are too young, because we all know facts about this. Kids see everything, they hear everything, they notice everything, they know everything. They got elephant memories. I have an elephant memory, so I know that. And it's a lot better to talk to them about it coming from a place of wanting to inform them, and you're non-biased and you're not involved and you just want to make them aware, because I think it's extremely effective to give people the tools to help themselves. Like, that's the whole point of my YouTube channel, is to help people just think I want people to think for themselves. I don't care what you pick. I just want to help people because I know that I think differently. So, and I just want to share it. It doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong or it's better or it's worse or it's anything other than different. This is different and it's simple. And there's no possible way that it will not be useful. It will not be effective. It will not be impactful to possibly every child that gets to be a part of the program, honestly. And again, it could cost nothing. You could do it on a volunteer basis. So, basically, again, it has to be, I know I've already said this, I don't mean to be redundant, as I said in the beginning, but it can't be somebody in a position of authority. It has to be done by just somebody who can effectively communicate, who can understand things, doesn't get offended easily, because, I mean, these are kids we're talking about. You know, they're going to be assholes. Still an asshole, so I get it. But it has to always be done in a way where it's got to be anonymous for the kids, so they have to have the freedom to fill it out on their own, so they can take it home. I don't want them to ever have to be worried about, oh, I can't be honest on this because my teacher's going to recognize my handwriting if I tell the truth. That's what I want to avoid. That's why only their grade will go in there, and that is it. They fill it on their own. Excuse me, like, if I were able to do it from, like, my local school districts, I would go pick them up, I would go through them, and then I would go to do, I don't know, I say program, but I don't know, I guess a seminar, open dialogue, open discussion, could be any of those things, really. But basically, you would get the grade together, and then you would go over the questions as the presenter that read the answers. So no kid has to feel singled out, because nobody knows what they're saying on that questionnaire but them. So they could be you're more likely when you're a kid, nobody likes to be singled out. Like, I mean, some kids don't even like raising their hand. You know what I mean? So if they know that their, like, anonymity is protected, they're much more likely to be transparent, and that's what we want. So we can gauge where they're really at. And there are also questions on there that may seem innocuous, or like, what the fuck do you put that on there for? I think a lot of the time that not just kids, but just people in general, demographics always seem to, for me, a big problem to do with them mattering when they shouldn't, per se, because, again, you can't pick them, you can't pick them. So what the fuck, you can't, why are you hating somebody for something they didn't choose to be or pick? You know what I mean? Nobody chose to have a lighter or darker skin color. Nobody picks, you can't pray the gay away. Nobody chooses to be gay, just like nobody chooses to be straight. It's how you're wired in the womb, the end. Because why would anybody pick to love somebody or desire somebody that society tells them is wrong? They wouldn't. Hello. So, like, and or why would there be transgenders if you got to pick your gender? Nobody would ever feel like they were born in the wrong body, like their body's betraying them. That's the emphasis on transgender, is you feel like you were just born wrong, like just wrong. You were in the wrong gender. So if you got to pick these things, then these things would not be issues. You feel me? But we can't pick them. It's just how they're wired. Just like there's psychopaths and there's sociopaths. There's people on the like Ted Bundy scores like 39 out of like 40 on the psychopathy scale. I mean, there are mental disorders, conditions, diagnoses. Again, I have mental clinical diagnoses. So there are things that medication can work out, stabilize. But don't get it twisted, because most personality disorders, there's a difference between a mental diagnosis and a personality, okay? For the most part, I mean, yeah, if you have like depression or if you have anxiety, things like that, yeah, they can typically treat you with medication. But personality disorders, like, you typically can't be treated if that's the only diagnosis. It's the person, it's how they were wired. And that shit don't discriminate either. You could be a good mom that doesn't smoke, that eat healthy, that cares about her womb, stays on bed rest and shit, like all bougie, like life of luxury, while they're pregnant. Or you could be a mom that's on drugs and is a sex worker and smokes and does all the wrong things when you're pregnant. And the mom who does all the right things may very well have the child that has not good personality disorder. They couldn't prevent, they couldn't change because they didn't pick it. It was just wired that way. It's literally that simple. Seriously. I would love somebody to try to prove me wrong on that one. I love a great debate. In any event, these things all matter. They're all issues because people can't grasp that simple concept. They always want to, try to change somebody and try to force their beliefs and their opinions on somebody. No, stop. Your beliefs and your opinions are for you. They're not for nobody else. And if they are based on somebody else, then you're not doing it right. You're not God-fearing, or you're not believing, or you're not whatever. You're not living your best life if you're living for likes. Like, it's that simple. So common ground is the best way to perpetuate camaraderie. So there are seemingly innocuous questions on there, but they have a purpose. It's because I want to figure out, like, ask 100 kids, like, what their favorite activities are, to give them the numbers, to say, hey, you guys don't know who answered what, but I do. And 50 of you listed your favorite activity as playing FPS games, whatever. You know what I mean? Just, there are very pointed questions in there that would be very obvious to anybody who has any basic understanding of just human nature, psychology, whatever. But again, I think about the phrase age appropriate, and it kind of makes me chuckle. I'm like, what is that? What does that mean? Like, I lost my virginity at 13 years old, to a friend. I'm glad I lost it the way I lost it, sure, because it was to a friend that I had grown up with, not to a boy I thought I was in love with that lied and broke my heart. I was way too young. But that's what happens with what kind of mom I had and what went on when I was a child. I didn't understand. I thought that's whatever. The point is, it would have probably been really good for somebody to have a conversation with me about, like, what sex actually means and, like, what, you know what I mean? I mean, I didn't learn it in health class yet. You don't learn that shit till high school. So, again, if a kid's given a device and that has an internet connection, whether you monitor it or not, whenever you set a rule, there's always going to be a way to break the rule. Look at all the laws. There's nothing but gray area and loophole everywhere. Every fucking where. That's life. It's like I love when somebody tries to tell me I can't do something. That reverse psychology 101 right there, that's a challenge. That bitch loves a challenge. I don't know the advantage. What's that? I do everything the hard way. That's how I learn everything. So At the end of the day, though, I feel like there is, depending on who you ask when it comes to age appropriate, like, granted, you're not going to talk, again, a 7th grader and a 12th grader, obviously at a different maturity level. But either way, they're probably talking about worse with their friends already and have been. So I don't want to, I tried to, the other big part of my program that's important is that I did not want to do something that I was going to have like a lot of pushback or like contesting parents. I'm not going to tell nobody how to parent. I don't want to do that. But if you can't talk to your kids about it, or even if you can talk to your kids about it, odds are they're not going to hear it. I mean, they're going to hear you, but they're not going to like really listen when it's coming from you. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying that to be a jerk. I mean, it's just a fact. Like they're going to be more likely to listen to their friend than they are to you. So because they're going to be like, "What does my parents know?" Just like you look at a kid and say, "You're too young to understand." Same thing. That's why that's a cop out, and that's why it gets on my nerves. But anyways, can't have like you can't you can't. It's like people are gluttonous as shit. They want their cake and having it too. Nah, can't expect shit or ask shit from other people that you yourself won't do or don't want. Whatever. It don't work like that. So like you have to just look at it as objective as possible and try to. I know it's very hard to be unemotional or detached or desensitized like I am. I'm weird. I'm like a Freudian science experiment all day, every day. But this is a way to like just have the discussion with the kids so they're amongst their peers. You would just go over their answers to the questionnaire. Of course, the questionnaire could be tweaked, could be changed, things could be added, things could be taken off, depending on the age or like the area or the exposure, like I said, because of the rural area where there's like 100 kids in the whole high school is not going to be the same exposure as at a more younger or rapid or younger occurring rate, whatever you want to call it, as like my area in Newcastle County, Delaware. So the questionnaire, though, I came up with, I think it's really good, and I'm very proud of it. And I feel like, again, I would love, it would give me life, if I could even do it for one school in my local area. I would do it at every school if I could. Shit. I'm so for it because I believe in it that much. Because I think about it, I feel like I hit every mark that needs to be hit as far as parents. You shouldn't have a problem with this discussion when you hear the questionnaire. You should actually be happy that somebody's going to talk to your kids about these things. Sometimes you don't know how to do it. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. I'm not uncomfortable by anything. I will talk about anything. I don't give a shit. Nothing bothers me. Words don't affect me. So like, but it's hard to talk about things. It's hard to like try to understand and gauge the intake or the perception of the person that you're having the hard, uncomfortable conversation with. But if you do it in this kind of way, it doesn't have to be hard. And and then that will perpetuate. So the next time when you check in, quarterly, like I said, maybe they're not so forthcoming the first time, but then when you do the next check-in, because you just gain trust by coming back and showing them that you care and that you want to be there, whatever, but because they'll know that there were no repercussions and their anonymity was protected the first time, that they're much more likely to be more forthcoming the second or the third time. That's how we get like the best results. I mean, you can't be proactive for everything. There's no way to avoid all bad shit. But we can't keep waiting for these school shootings to happen and shit like that. You know what I mean? We can't keep waiting for ththese kids to commit suicide for cyberbullying or whatever. Like, why do we have to wait until there's problems, until there's trauma, until like victims, like that's art, like until somebody loses a kid, until a mass, like I said, we could try to do something a little bit different. I mean, maybe there's a program like this already in existence that I haven't come across. And if that's the case, I'm not trying to steal nobody's ideas because I don't want no money from this. I'm sharing this because I'm proud of it and it means something to me and I feel like it could really make a difference. And that's what I'm about to do. I'm about to fuck shit up. I'm about to make a difference. And I'm going to hope that I only offend those who deserve to be offended. Here's the questionnaire and then I'll let you guys go. So the instructions state, please only write your own grad year and or current grade on the top. I'm sorry, like lighting over here is killing me. On the top of the form to ensure Things are addressed per grade year appropriately. I know how much easier it is to share and to speak up when you can do it in a way that you don't feel singled out. So do not put your name on this questionnaire so that nobody but you will know how you answered. You are safe to be 100% honest and transparent. That is what we need for this to work effectively. There are no right or wrong answers, and there are no consequences whatsoever for any of your responses, regardless of what they may or may not be. No one will be able to judge you or even know it's you, but you. And then my, at the bottom, I guess this would be taken off because this is pretty much like for whoever's, I guess, handing them out or doing the presentation. I just put, in order to prove anonymity to the students, you can hand these out and they don't have to be filled out right away. They can be like taken home or whatever. So like say you give them out on a Monday morning or something, and then they have to be turned in by like, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday. So that way they can fill them out in their own time in the event extra time is needed, or so that way they don't have to worry about their handwriting or something like that being identified by their teachers who read their handwriting all day, every day. Because they're mandatory reporters. Again, that's why I'm an authority figure. Mandatory reporting is one of the very few laws in this country that I am for all day, every day. But I want this to be an open discussion, and I want kids to feel safe, to be open and transparent, because that's how we help them or protect them or proactively prevent shit. So I don't want them to have to worry about the mandatory reporting laws. I'll work that out because, of course, if something crazy comes up, of course, it has to be reported. But, we'll get there. One kink. That's it. I worked everything else out. One kink. I think one kink is good. Very good, especially the way we do shit around here. People just be taking the prototypes. No, I like tried and true proven methods. I don't need nothing new. I'm not bougie. So when the kids are handing them back in the way I think it would work best, which I could be wrong, there could be a better way. Always work. I love an improvement. I love a suggestion. I love a work smarter, not harder, whatever. But the way I think of it is, since we want to avoid their handwriting being identified, if they could hand them in like maybe like drop off boxes, like how you like vote for something. I don't know, I don't know what they're called, drop off boxes. But if they could be like, I don't know, in the lunchrooms or something like that, because the grade is what's important, and that'll be written on there. Drop off boxes for the students to submit their completed questionnaires into, so that they do not need to fear being identified by their handwriting, etc., or worrying about another peer seeing their answers or what they wrote. I want them to know that nobody's going to know but them. It's very important, because I feel like that's how this will work the best and be the most effective, like I said already a million times. Sorry. Again, I swear I don't like being redundant. I'm just want to emphasize the importance. The purpose for the seemingly innocuous questions are to find out and promote common ground amongst peers. Common ground breeds positivity through impactful camaraderie. See, look, I already got it memorized because I got the elephant memory. The purpose of the more poignant questions are to obviously gauge the level, the severity, and importance of such topics. So the questionnaire is as follows. Do you have your own social media accounts? If yes, which ones? If yes, are they monitored at all by your primary caretaker, guardian, or parent? If so, do you know how? And if not, why? The next question is, do you engage in social gaming, where you communicate with others live real time while gaming? If so, what games do you play most? And on average, how much time do you think that you spend playing throughout the week and or on the weekends? Have you ever been made aware of what it means to be safe when being online? Do you or have you ever pretended to be somebody else other than yourself when online, such as catfishing, like on MTV? Shout out to Neva and Cammy. I love you. You're my peoples. You're like my spirit animal. Girl, I love you, sis. Bag me up. And I'm going to make a video about that too. So I've been watching some catfish fan favorites recently. I got some things to say about the reasoning for catfishing and ghosting and all this. But I'll get there. Won't digress anymore. Keep it moving. Do you engage with people online that you don't know in real life? In your own words, what does it mean to you to be a bully? Do you feel that you have ever been bullied? If so, please describe the circumstances, as in your age, the situation or reason, if known, by one person or a group. For how long did it go on for? And how long until it stopped? Did it stop, etc.? And then I said, do you feel that you have ever bullied anybody? If so, please describe how. Is there anything that you have done in which you regret or are scared to discuss with an adult? Please list your 3 favorite activities, hobbies, or things to do. Please list your 3 least favorite things, hobbies, activities to do. Please list anything that makes you fearful or causes you to be anxious or uncomfortable that you experience on a regular basis or have experienced. Do you enjoy being at school? Are there any reasons in particular? Do you enjoy being at home? Are there any reasons in particular? Please list at least 2 things or more that you like or take pride in about yourself. Please list 2 things that, if there are any, that you wish you could change or you would want to be different about yourself. Is there anything that you wish you could change about your home life or school life? If so, please describe. Is there anything in your day-to-day life, whether it be at school or your interactions with others, such as peers or family, what would it be if there is something that you would like to change, and how would you change it? Do you feel that there is someone in your life that you have with whom you can talk about anything and feel unjudged? Is there anything you want to share anonymously, or just anything you want me to discuss that you may feel is important? If there is anything, please state it here, and if not, that's okay too. It's basically like a fill-in type thing. Now, I would really like to know people's opinions. Are any of these questions inappropriate to a 7th grader, 8th grader, 9th grader, up to 12th grader? I don't think these questions are inappropriate in any way. And again, you're going to be discussing them with the grade based on the responses. You will be able to gauge where the kids are at based on how they respond. Now, granted, there could be things that come up there that are crazy, that are not good. And again, that's still in kink. I'll have to figure that one out. But for the most part, I want to bring the kids together, realize they're not so different, because they're not. We're all people. Our DNA is like, what, 99 point something percent the same, no matter what you are, who you are. If you're a human being, it's like over 99% the same. Our DNA, our genetic makeup that makes us humans. I mean, come on now. It shouldn't be that hard to create common ground and camaraderie. I mean, but clearly it is, because look at our society. Case in point, you know? But I don't know. Call me crazy. I think I'm brilliant. But I don't really care if anybody else agrees. All I want to do is share something that I feel like could really, I might cry, really, emphasis on the really, be useful to our kids, because they're our future. And we shouldn't have to wait until there's a tragedy or something bad happening, etc. If we could proactively prevent it, why wouldn't we want to? That's my project, my program, my mentorship, my seminar, my open dialogue, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. You see this, you watch this, you're in a position to try to implement this, go for it. Please share. Well, share with somebody who can. I don't need subscribers. I don't live for likes. I don't care if anybody likes me. But I would really like people to pay this one forward and share it, just because I would like people that are in a position to be able to implement it, to try to do something proactively, preventatively, so there's no or less damage, victim, etc. So Okay, this was the very long edition of this, an hour and 30 minutes. Ashley has explained it all. Any questions, you let me know. Any suggestions, you let me know, because I love to know. I'm in the know. I'm going to need to know. In this, I need to know because I want to know. So y'all let me know.